Hello, everybody. My name is Cohen. Envy and dishonesty are human faults that we all experience at some point. Sometimes these faults can manifest in a desire to try to be something, frankly, we're not. Whether the reason is to feel cool, different, or just want to be admired by others. We all feel this way. Growing up and prior to graduating high school, I was a bit of a social outcast. Didn't really relate much to my peers. And, I embraced that for a good while, but you could never really shake that feeling on the inside of being normal, so to speak. But, after all these years, I thought about it and I realized it's not how others perceive you that really even matter. It's just about your character and your own sense of self. And today, using Aesop's The Jay and the Peacock, as well as my own personal anecdote, I plan to teach you a lesson. So, like I said, The Jay and the Peacock is a fable that I really feel like gets the point across great. The story starts off with a jay who comes across a pile of peacock feathers. And upon finding these feathers, the jay decides to adorn them and tie them onto his tail. After doing so, the jay proceeds to embrace a group of peacocks and struts in front of them, flaunting off his newly found feathers. Now, the peacocks really not appreciate that, and they end up plucking all the borrowed plumes from the jay and rejecting them from his brood. Disheartened, the jay returns to his own kind, where they actually reject him as well, as they all bore witness to his folly. The jays saw what he did and saw how he tried to be something he wasn't, and they were all frankly insulted. And so he was yet again rejected. And then Aesop ends this fable off by saying, it is not only the feathers that make fine birds, which in my opinion, I interpret to mean that it's not appearance that makes you good or beautiful, but rather who you are on the inside. Now, with that fable in mind, my own personal anecdote really sort of drives it home. So, as I mentioned earlier, I grew up being a bit of a social outcast prior to high school. After high school, I had the opportunity to move to Charlotte and go to UNC Charlotte. And I really saw that as an opportunity to reinvent myself, as anybody would. There's strangers, new people, nobody knows you. Perfect opportunity. And like I said earlier, I really couldn't get off my peers prior, loathed them and their interests, seemed all pretty stupid. So when I first got to Charlotte, though, I wanted to try fitting in for once. So I spent a lot of time doing things that I saw other people doing. So I mimicked their attitudes, interests. I tried to change how I dressed to what I looked cool, and did contemporary activities like tailgating or even drinking, even though, in my opinion, most of that stuff is not very enjoyable at all. And, after a while, maybe say like a year or two, I came to realize that none of this was actually, I just sort of felt like a big phony. And while I didn't really have somebody else as a peacock, I was both my own jay and peacock in that story. I learned that I really should have been focusing on embracing me rather than that of trying to be somebody else. And so I really failed to see my value, and value, honestly, is within, with who you are. So, as I said, my anecdote and the fable, embracing who you are rather than trying to be something you're not, is probably the best satisfaction you have in your life. And it's just not worth it trying to live that lie, because at the end of the day, none of it really matters. And really, when I was writing this whole speech and reading these fables, I had this quote keep coming to mind, which is actually the North Carolina state motto. And in English translated, it means to be rather than to seem. This is a quote I always took to heart personally, and I still try to live my life by today. It means a lot to me. I think it's a good way to really sum it up. Just work. Thank you.